right, welcome back to another edition of Music Monday from the podcast Nurture the Mind. I am your host, Cole Poots, and we have yet again another music reaction. As always, at least it feels like this way, we have a new artist to the channel, and this artist is Teddy Swims, and the song is Are You Even Real, featuring GIVÄON. And it is the official music video, so I was recommended by a friend of mine, Mrs. Betsy. She told me to give this artist a listen. She told me there was one day in the gym where I was wearing a Christmas suit. So it was like a jacket and a pair of pants and a bow. It was all matching. So I think it must have been the 23rd because we didn't work on the 24th or the 25th. And however I dressed that day, it made Betsy, she was reminded of Teddy Swims. Like, because of how I dressed, that I reminded her of Teddy Swims. So I don't know if this guy and if we kind of look alike. I guess we're going to find out since we're going into the music video. I have no idea what his genre is. I have really no background on this guy. So whatever we listen to today is going to be a complete surprise. And it just so happens that this music video was dropped 2 days ago, and it already has 1.2 million views on YouTube. So yeah. Let's just get into it. Let's see what happens. Teddy Swims, Are You Even Real, featuring GIVÄON. And I also don't know GIVÄON, so. Bunch of tattoos on the head and the face.
Are you even real? Or did I make you up? How can someone like you wanna give me love? Think I deserve it, but I can't get enough. You're so beautiful, spiritual, more like a miracle. Part of me said that you like being invisible. Too good to be true. So, are you?
Oh, wow.
Are you? Made up in my head, are you in my bedroom? Questions that I asked ever since I met you. Tell me, are you? Something from a dream is something that I made up. Questions that I ask every time I wake up. Too much. Are you still enough for me? I can feel the rush. Even when you slow dance for me. Looking at you laying right there. Are you from this world? I swear you're beautiful, spiritual. I just want you to know. Is it a pretend or something? I'm in real, I don't know what to think. If it's not a dream, I don't want to wake up.
Those harmonies go so well together.
Something from a dream is something that I made up. Questions that I ask every time I wake up. Are you?
All right, that one was really quick at 2 minutes and 37 seconds. That was a really good song. It's kind of surprising, like when you look at Teddy Swims from the outside and you just kind of see the exterior. You know, he's this big burly guy. He's got a bunch of tattoos. He looks kind of rough around the edges, a little bit jagged, and yet he has such a beautiful voice. Those harmonies were so good, and GIVÄON was great as well. To add him into the mix, to bring those two together. So I'm just kind of surprised to have that result, kind of play out. I wasn't expecting that sound. And I guess I can see where Betsy kind of got this comparison. Like with this dude, he's essentially shaved off his hair, shaved it down, and he's got a full beard. Now, like minus the tattoos, but like when I grow out my full beard, I have no hair on the top of my head. Like this is what I look like. So we kind of do look alike in that sense. And, I'm somewhat of a bigger guy. I lift weights and whatnot. I've put on a lot of muscle over the years. I'm sitting roughly at like 230 pounds. So yeah, I could definitely see that. The subject matter is something to be a little bit more explored. The sense that I got is, okay, so are you even real? Like referring to a lover, somebody that he is seeing, because he's asking this question like, do you even exist? Are you even real? I think I'll probably look up the lyrics just to get more context, but that is the first thing that comes to mind, just going through it one time. Okay, so About It. Are You Even Real is a collaboration between American singer-songwriters Teddy Swims and GIVÄON. It marks the second single from Teddy's upcoming album, I've Tried Everything But Therapy Part 2. It's also GIVÄON's first release in 3 years. About the single, Teddy Swims has said, I'm in love with a perfect woman, and I am so lucky that sometimes it feels too good to be true. I'm so grateful to have my dear friend GIVÄON on Are You Even Real with me. He is a once-in-a-generation talent. I'm trying to get this man to do a whole record with me. Are You Even Real describes a relationship where one half is in disbelief as to whether their lover, who seems perfect to them in every way, is actually present with them, or merely a figment of their imagination. Teddy and GIVÄON's smooth voices conveyed the sentiment beautifully over a steady, rhythmic R&B beat. The single comes after a steady stream of commercial success for Teddy Swims. After the release of his hit singles Loose, Control, The Door, and Bad Dreams. Can he keep up the momentum? While that remains to be seen, the song definitely feels like a step in the right direction. Okay. So I was right on my first analysis. Him being in disbelief that he's with this partner that seems to be just incredibly perfect. Like she is the divine feminine and she has absolutely no flaws about her whatsoever. Which I wonder then, in terms of this relationship that he has with this woman, when he wrote it, like were they in the early stages of the relationship? Because I feel like when you're in the early stages of a relationship, that's when everything's brand new. That's when everything is exciting. Your emotions are just like fluttering. They're all over the place. They call it operating with rose-colored glasses because you basically don't see any flaws in that person. And if you do see red flags with that person, typically a lot of people will just ignore it in the beginning. So that's the first question that I have, is when he wrote this, was he in that headspace, or was it even later on into the relationship? Like, had they been together for a year or like 2 years, whatever the case may be, and he still felt that way about this person? Maybe because one of the reasons why he fell in love with this person is because they're just amazing. They make him a better person. Maybe they're really caring. Maybe they're really giving. And so, being in that relationship for as long as they have been, he continues to sit back, ask himself these questions, and be like, I can't believe I'm with this person. They are about the closest thing to perfect that I've ever found. So that would be interesting to know that fact, is where was he at in this relationship? Was it in the beginning or was it the later stages? But then you have to bring up like a second point to that. And you have to realistically say, and I'm sure, without knowing anything about Teddy Swims, I'm sure that he knows this. He's just writing a song about this. So, but what I'm about to say is not criticism at all. I'm just saying, I think we've all been to that place, right? where we were with somebody and they were perfect and they could do no wrong. They were amazing. It was almost like you had this drug that was associated with being around them. You were, just so attached to them, just feasting for their love anytime that you could get it. And I know I've been in those places, and I think sometimes that sort of way of looking at it, that feeling can get out of control, because at the end of the day, nobody, I know this is a cliche, but it's a true cliche, nobody, and I mean nobody, is fucking perfect. And to think that your partner is somebody that is perfect, I think that is a thought, a feeling, a belief that can get you into lots of trouble. Because let's say, I don't know, down the road in the relationship, there's going to be a conflict at some point. I mean, you just can't get around those things. Even the best couples still argue and still have fights. But, maybe your belief is that, well, I find this person to be perfect. So even though maybe they're mistreating you, maybe they're treating you badly, maybe they did something that really caused you some pain or hurt you, and if that's become something consistent inside them, it's a consistent behavior that they keep repeating over and over and over again, you're just going to keep going back to the fact that you're like, no, I know, like, you basically make excuses for them. You're like, they did that, but they're a perfect person, right? And I can't envision my life without them. So that's something that I think all of us have to be very, very careful about in relationships. I went through relationships like that, like one in particular back in like 2018, 2019. And it was the one relationship that I was in that completely devastated me, like completely rocked my world. And I think a lot of it boils down to the fact that, I thought that I couldn't survive without this person. And that's why I'm saying I think that going too far down that thought process can, do damage to you in immense ways, because you think this person is perfect, even though they are showing you signs that they're not perfect. And yet you stay there and you put up with the abuse and you put up with the trouble and you put up with the back and forth. So it's just something to be aware of. It's just something to be cautious of. All right, so we got the description for the song, but let's see what he actually says in the lyrics. So you start with verse 1. Are you even real? Or did I make you up? How could someone like you want to give me love? Don't think I deserve you, but I can't get enough. I mean, it's very simple, but at the same time, it's very, very profound. Part of it is that he doesn't necessarily have the confidence and the self-esteem to believe that he deserves a love like this, something that is so beautiful. And usually when you're coming from that place, that's what leads a lot of people to carry out self-sabotage and just blow up the relationship, because they're like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing that I've ever known. Seems too good to be real. Instead of, seeing this thing through and seeing where it goes and where it takes us, I'm just going to abort the freaking mission. I'm going to ghost them. I'm going to break up with them. I'm never going to talk to them again, because that's easier. Like, I want to go back to the things that I know instead of this unknown, unexplored territory that seems very foreign, very real, and very scary. Are you even real, or did I make you up? So kind of what I was saying as well just a second ago is, in those relationships where you have this idea of somebody and you think that they are the perfect person, they could do no wrong and they could never hurt you, it's usually not the case. It's not based in reality, because of the cliche that I just said, that there is nobody out there that's perfect. We're all imperfect. We're all flawed. We all have insecurities. We all have struggles. We all have issues. We all have troubles. So if you sit back and think that your partner is the perfect person, maybe they're the perfect person for you, but they're not a perfect person. That is an idea, that is a construct that you've made up in your own head. And again, it's something you have to be careful about, and you have to manage it, and think about it logically, because that's where you can get hurt. So that verse 1 is simple, and it feels like on the surface there's not a lot being said, but once you kind of pick it apart a little bit, it leads to so many more details. In the pre-chorus from Teddy Swims, "You're so beautiful, spiritual, more like a miracle. Part of me is scared that you might be invisible, too good to be true." There we go, back to that line of too good to be true. That's usually where self-sabotage occurs. In the chorus, Teddy Swims, "Tell me, are you made up in my head, or are you in my bedroom? Questions that I ask ever since I met you. Tell me, are you something from a dream or something that I made up? Questions that I ask every time that I wake up." GIVÄON has verse 2. "You never do too much. Somehow you're still enough for me. I can feel the rush even when you slow dance for me. Looking at you laying right there. Are you from this world? I swear." Then they go back into the pre-chorus. Now it's GIVÄON and it's Teddy Swims, and they're doing it together. And then it goes back to the chorus, and it's combined between Teddy Swims and GIVÄON. Yeah, man, it's a beautiful song. I think the best part, it had a very and this is where people could fill me in, because I don't know anything about Teddy Swims or GIVÄON. What is their genre? Do they have a certain sound? Is there certain themes that are often played out in their music? To me, it's so chill, all across the board. It's just a very subtle instrumental and beat and whatnot. And then the harmonies of GIVÄON and Teddy Swims is what really brings this track to life. But then you start to really understand what it's about. You go back, you peel back the layers, you look at the lyrics, and you're like, wow, there's a deeper meaning to this. And based on what he's talking about, I think it's something, again, if you're old enough, if you've had enough life experiences, if you've had some relationships that didn't work out, didn't pan out, didn't go your way, I'm thinking of myself, just the relationship that I was just talking about. I'm like, I can definitely relate to what he's saying. It's just, love and loving somebody, in a sense, is like you are falling under a spell. Being in love with somebody, choosing to love somebody, whether you like it or not, it is mainly an emotional thing. I mean, there might be some logic that is attached to it, but a lot of it is built on our emotions. And anytime that you're trusting your emotions, you just have to be careful. I'm not saying people shouldn't date, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't try and find their partner, the person that they're going to get married to, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't fall in love. I am a proponent for all of those things. I'm just saying, be careful who it's with, because when you fall in love with somebody, it's an emotional process, right? And so if you're doing that with the wrong person, that's what spells damage down the road. And people a lot of times are like, I didn't see this coming. I was completely unaware. Well, it's because you were under a spell. I mean, they've proven this through scientific studies. When you get intimate with somebody, so you're kissing somebody, you're feeling somebody, and then ultimately you take it 10 steps further and you end up having sex, getting intimate, and then let's say you make a relationship with that person and you do that constantly, over time, the course of the relationship, you have now built this almost drug-like attachment in your head to this person, because love, the emotional pull that it has associated with that intimacy, getting physical, having sex with one another, it's basically like being on drugs. That's why breakups fucking they hurt so bad. They level you because you're separating from this person, and it almost feels like you're losing a part of you. Obviously, all of the past memories with them, if you've been with them for a long time, and if you were building up this future together, now that future is uncertainty, and so you're stuck in this limbo. But the big thing is you're losing that part of you. You're losing your freaking drug, man. And you know, that's why a lot of people, again, I'm speaking from experience. I've been in relationships, at least one in particular that I can think of, that we would have issues, and instead of talking things through and trying to solve those issues, we would just resort to physical means and, you know, just do all of that with each other because that was the easy thing to do instead of talking things out. And that's obviously not healthy. And that's one of the big things that led to our inevitable downfall. So you just have to be very, very careful when you're vetting a potential partner. And I think it's almost worth it. Like, the physical attraction should be there, but I don't think you should be banging people the first time that you meet them and then you build a relationship off of that. It's like, maybe you should actually take some time to get to know who that person actually is. You know, maybe tell yourself, I want to wait a month at least talking to them and making sure that we're dating at the time when we decide to make that decision. You know, people are so impulsive. There's obviously temptation wrapped around that, lust, especially if you're very attracted to them. But it's just a good idea. It's just something that I've learned over the years, is trying to employ that method to safeguard myself from, you know, more issues down the road. And obviously we live in an instant gratification society, and, you know, we're sold sex all the time. You know, they say sex sells. And, you know, as a guy, it's like every time you fucking get on Instagram, you're just always seeing these thoughts shaking their ass and their tits. It's like they're trying to push that so hard that that becomes our main focus as human beings. And again, it's important to have that with a partner, but I don't think it's a good thing for as much as we prioritize it and as much as we freaking see it on our social media feeds day in and day out. So needless to say, this was a really good song. It makes you think a lot. I love how it sounded. I love the sound of Teddy Swims' voice and the sound of GIVÄON's voice, and it makes me just even more intrigued to go deeper into Teddy Swims' catalog. So if you guys have any recommendations with his music, please let me know. So that's the reaction, guys. And before we head out of here, I always got 4 things that I mention at the end. 4 things that I ask that you do, but you don't have to do all 4. Please just do one of the 4. And that is for, if you came over here, you watched this video, you liked it, you thought it was valuable, you thought it was entertaining. Basically, if it was not a waste of your time, do one of these 4 things for me. Number 1 would be like the video. Number 2, subscribe to the channel. Number 3, comment in the comment section below. And number 4, share the video, share the message, whether you do that on social media or you tell somebody about it in real life. Doing one of those 4 things really helps me grow my channel and just continues to get my channel out there to the masses, to more and more people, so people can come over here, see that it exists, and just help it grow. So I put this out, and all I ask is that you guys do me one of those 4 things. Do me a freaking solid and just get out there and promote it, man. That's all that I ask. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you guys next week on whatever reaction it happens to be. I love you guys. Hope you have a good day, and I will see you later. Okay, bye-bye.